Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Ted Lasso Season 2, Episode 12, Inverting the Pyramid of Success, is the final episode in Season 2 of Ted Lasso. I believe there is one more season. At least that's what I've heard in interviews, that they've planned on a 3-season arc for all this stuff that's going on, which I'm all here for. I mean, this has definitely been the season that has birthed a villain, whereas the first season we had Rebecca was the villain trying to sabotage the team, trying to ruin Rupert's baby. Season 2 has been about them coming together as a team and working better together. This season has been about mental health in a lot of ways with Ted Lasso and a lot of the other players. Relationships have been made in this season. So it's the last episode, and it was good. It was good. I enjoyed this ending to the season. It also made me enjoy and look forward to what will happen in the next season. And let me just say, my predictions were right. And I'm sure, I'm not the only one. I'm not some magician. I'm not channeling some God-given ability to predict what the writers of Ted Lasso are going to do. But I was right, and it's kind of sad, but also fitting. Of course, the storyline, the arc of Nate the Great, and his rise to egomaniacal power in this season. But of course, we start off the episode. Ted, the article is out, walking around town. Everybody's reading the article. The random old dude that calls him a wanker on the street, walked by and talked some shit as well. But then also kind of gave him don't give up, kind of there was a little bit of encouragement at the end of his shit talking, which was a nice little touch, a nice little bit of humanity in what is mostly talking shit. But yeah, the panic attack article is out. Of course, everybody contacting Ted saying that they support him, which is it would have been so surprising if people were like, sorry, dude, you have mental health problem. Get out of here. But he got text. He got a little voice memo from Sharon. It's actually kind of a scene that really utilized modern technology in the ways to communicate. It wasn't just like people trying to call him. It was like, here are these. It shows the advantages of all these other forms of communication, like texting or just sending video or audio notes. And I mean, I guess the entire show has utilized technology in that way, especially with Ted communicating with his kid back home. But yeah, so the panic attack, team support. Keeley and is given an opportunity to the VC company, the venture capital company that's invested in Bantr, likes Keeley so much that they're going to invest in her opening her own PR firm, which seems to be kind of a crazy idea that would happen, but great. It's great. I love Keeley, and she's obviously been doing, we don't really see her doing a lot aside from just being successful and looking good in pictures. I mean, she's like a great friend, definitely, to Rebecca. She's a great partner, I would say, to Roy. I really enjoy the relationship between Keeley and Roy. Whereas in this episode, you're seeing Roy scared. You're seeing Roy scared that Keeley doesn't need him. And you see that when she sees the picture spread that came out. They sent her the proofs before they got released, and Roy's not in any of the pictures, which is completely fine. I mean, the article is about her. He has nothing to do with her success other than, he's encouraging. So, you know, it makes sense. But at the same time, I could see, you know, being hurt by that. It's like, well, I was there, you know, and they did take a bunch of pictures. Not one of them is with us. And Roy he likes his relationship with Keeley. So Roy goes in not next day, but then Roy goes into work, and of course Nate is asking where Roy is. Jamie's asking where Roy is, because as we know in the previous episode, Nate kissed Keeley. In the funeral episode, Jamie confessed his love to Keeley. So when Roy comes in, Jamie pulls him aside. They go and have a talk, and immediately Jamie apologizes before Roy says anything. It's very interesting in the show, you know, that who else did that recently? Oh, Roy. Roy apologized to Keeley during the funeral about how, like, just instantly, before, like, anything happened, like, you know, he was sorry, he knew. Very similarly, Jamie does the same thing with Roy. He's like, listen, at the funerals are weird, emotions running wild. I know I shouldn't have done it, but I told Keeley that I still loved her, and I'm sorry, that's not fair to you. And, like, super respectful. Which, of course, Roy is pissed because he wants to be angry. He doesn't. This is no fun. This is no fun. You can't just come and apologize right away. I'm Roy Kent. I have anger inside of me, and you're not allowing me to expel that all over your face. So angry, he's pissed, and I think he goes in and he talks to the Diamond Dogs. Roy finally is interested in becoming a Diamond Dog, loosely. And I love everybody's face when he comes into the office and he's like, do you mind if I ask the Diamond Dogs some advice? And it's blowing everybody's mind. And that's Roy, you know, opens up about how Keeley, you know, he feels like Keeley might not need him, and he's afraid that his relationship. And then Nate wants to reveal some hidden truths as well, and he, similarly to Jamie, apologizes to Roy about kissing Keeley. But in this instance, Roy is so unthreatened by Nate that it's really not a big deal. Really not a big deal. Despite the fact that, you know, he's not able to be angry about any of that. But yeah, it was it's an interesting turn for Roy. Because it's like, I would understand the need to want to be angry. Like, there's, like, I don't like being angry, but it does feel good when you have anger inside to let it out. Obviously, how you let it out makes a big difference. But yeah, so Jamie apologized, Nate apologizes. We also have Sam, who's still undecided about what he's going to do. Is he going to go, you know, play for this billionaire that he has a lot of respect for, that seemingly has a lot of respect for him? Or is he going to stay with AFC Richmond, who's been like his family? And he's talking to his dad, and it's just his dad's like, I just got to leave it up to the universe sometimes. And then, you know, of course, walking by a park, and he sees some kids playing soccer and football, and one of them has a Sam's jersey on, which is, as far as, like, I mean, it's right after he got off the phone with his dad too, so it's felt a little bit like, oh well, it's not going to be that hard of a decision, because we're going to show you somebody proudly wearing your jersey playing soccer in that town. So you kind of get an idea of where Sam's head is at. A little over 4 years ago, I started The Many Faces. It's an ongoing series of abstract ink portraits. Each piece is improvised. Each piece is released daily. Start collecting now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. And save yourself 25% when you use coupon code RTS. That stands for The Ray Taylor Show, because that's what you're listening to, and I love you. So I want you to save 25% when you use that coupon code. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF and use coupon code RTS to save 25% when you start collecting one of over 1,600 original ink paintings. By myself, I made them. Support me. I love you. Back to the show. So we're going into the game, and of course, Nate is frustrated, because Nate wants credit for doing his job in the team. Like, his kind of understandable, he's coming up with all these plays. He knows the sport better than everybody, aside from maybe like Roy. But from a coaching standpoint, he seems to be their golden goose as far as knowing all the things and trying new things. But Ted is giving him the credit by calling this play or this formation Nate's sub 9 or what, I don't know, I forget what they call it, but like he's named it after Nate. So Nate is getting that credit. But Nate is feeling, because of his scrambled egotistical brain, feels that it's a way for Ted to put it all on Nate. So if it loses, it was Nate's plan. But if it wins, ultimately Ted is going to be congratulated because he's the head coach. So going into this last game, they need this win. Actually, I don't even know if they need the win. Maybe they just need the tie. But they need this game to be, promoted or whatever back into the major leagues. Whatever the proper terminology is for that. And they're not doing good. They're not doing good. Halftime, they're down 2 at half. The team is depressed. People don't know what to do. They decide to ask the team what they want to do. Nate wants to abandon his play. Nate wants to go back, like he's freaking out, and he wants to abandon his idea. And they ask the team. They leave it up to the team. And the one of the team members, who's brutally honest throughout this entire show, sometimes offensively honest, believes in the team and tells everybody, we can do this. We have the capability, we have the talent, we have the know-how, we can make this happen. We're just not doing it right now. But if we can make this happen in the second half. So there's some serious team camaraderie going in, and Nate pulls Ted aside. I mean, kind of. Ted goes to talk to Nate to see what's going on, because he knows. Obviously, he knows. Coach Beard knows that Nate was the one. The team doesn't know. Early on in the episode, when Ted, apologizes, should have told them in the first place that he was having mental health issues. Like, the team is obviously behind him, and they're like, we're going to find this guy and we're going to destroy him. And Ted's like, no. You don't have to do that. But Ted knows, and Ted's hoping that Nate will come to him and just be honest, because that's what Ted wants to forgive him, but he doesn't want to dig it out of him. But he kind of does. He kind of gives him a little push, and then Nate, which was a great performance. This is I love Nate he's a great character. The actor playing him, amazing. This is he's a great actor, and this is a great scene with him where he's breaking down emotionally, telling Ted how Ted cared so much about him up until the point he became a coach, and then once he became a coach, he hasn't shown him any love or any support. He feels like he's been abandoned by Ted, and how the naming the whole play, and how he feels like if it doesn't go well, then it's going to be all on him, which is kind of contradictory to the fact that he wanted credit for his coaching and wasn't getting credit for his coaching. So in some ways, Ted naming that play or that formation or whatever they're doing after Nate's plan, he feels that that's another attack at him. So it's like a breakdown of where you can see both sides, and you could see how somebody could feel abandoned in that situation. Like, I'm sure after that conversation, Ted feels bad about how he's handled Nate. But at the same time, Nate has, because of his ego, because of the game where Ted had the panic attack and left, and Nate filled in, and it was a great victory. He made some adjustments, and they got a big win. Like, Nate's head has been just growing. His ego has been growing ever since then. So some of it's that. Some of it's like, just being the victim, which, it's hard for Nate. So that happens. They have, after the halftime thing where they're all deciding, like, yeah, we can do this. We're going to, like, there's this great scene, which I use for the background, of everybody touching instead of going into a circle, touching hands, everybody goes up to the believe sign and touches it. Great scene, just got the heart palpitations going. So they go, they get a quick score. There's a penalty. Jamie's going in to kick, and there's a penalty. So he gets a penalty kick, and Jamie gives the opportunity to Dani Rojas, the guy who hasn't kicked a penalty kick since episode 1 when he accidentally killed Earl, the dog. And they have a new little dog that's very cute. And he gets the kick. Obviously, he gets the kick. I mean, come on. But it's a great little redemption moment for Dani Rojas, a character that was, for the most part, very underutilized in this entire season. The season is focused a lot. Keeley, Roy, Rebecca, Ted, obviously Sharon is a big addition to this season. But yeah, Dani Rojas, which is a bummer. I like Dani. I mean, he had some moments like the funeral, and then the holiday episode was fun as well. But yeah, so they get the win. They get the big win. Nate is pissed. After halftime, he spent the entire second half just sitting down, angry. And even when they got the win, when everybody's celebrating, he left the field immediately, stormed off the field, and left. And we don't see him again until later. But everybody goes in. Ted goes back into the office and sees that the believe sign had been removed and torn in half. Obviously, we know who did that. Little Mr. Darth Vader himself. We also see Sam. The billionaire is there to have his talk with Sam. Sam said he was going to wait until after the game to make his decision, which obviously it seemed like he made his decision before. Maybe if they lost, he would have changed his decision. But he told the billionaire that he wanted to stay, that his story isn't done where he's at in AFC Richmond, and he wants to. It's not his time. And of course, like I had hypothesized, we get to see a billionaire have a little child's tantrum. Was not happy. Funny scene, though. It was a funny scene of the billionaire storming off and like throwing things and just immediately being insulting to Sam. His handshake guy gave him the fake handshake, which I thought was kind of funny as well. Like, despite it being a billionaire throwing a temper tantrum, it was still a funny scene. But yeah, it's a funny scene. Sam, goes into Rebecca's office to let her know she is in a meeting or Ted is already in there, which Ted knows. I think most people know by this point. I believe Ted knows. But in a moment to tell Rebecca that he's staying, or why he's staying without telling her directly, is that he's speaking in the direction of Ted, while saying that it wasn't him that he decided to stay. That it was his own personal journey isn't done here yet. Which, is fine. It leaves the third season open for Rebecca and Sam to potentially get together or not. I mean, I like them together. I think Sam is an awesome dude, and he's amazing to Rebecca. But also, she needs to figure out what she wants with her life. So we'll see. It leaves that open in the air. What else? Oh, at the press conference, you see that Trent Crimm is not in the audience, and Ted uses the press conference to talk about mental health in sports, which obviously so much of this season is about mental health, whether it applies to sports or just in general. I mean, I would say mental health is culturally undervalued. Especially, I know for sure in the United States, it's very like, toughen it up, suck it up, don't cry. Like, those are things that my generation were like raised on. There's probably a lot of people similar to myself that just don't go to doctors. I mean, I care a lot about my mental health, and I've done a lot of work to kind of understand and deal with on my own. Obviously, getting professional help would be awesome if I had financial means to do so. But yeah, so Ted takes the opportunity at the press conference to talk about mental health, but he also sees that Trent Crimm has been fired. As he leaves, Trent is at the exit door, and Ted finds out that he was fired for revealing a source, for telling Ted that Nate was the anonymous source, which I think. I saw a tweet today from one of the Ted Lasso accounts. I don't know if it was like a meme account. It was one of those accounts, and it was talking about Trent Crimm. It's like, do you think Trent Crimm's going to become a writer now and tell the story of Ted Lasso? And it's like, yes, tweet. Yes, I do think that, because that's all I could think of. Is like, Trent has a lot of respect for Ted. He is a great writer. So yeah, if he's not a reporter anymore, then probably season 3 is going to be Trent Crimm writing the book on how this American third string coach came over to the UK and completely changed a team that was destined for failure. Right? I mean, of course that's going to be what happens in season 3. But it's interesting. I mean, Trent Crimm's another one of those characters that kind of comes and goes. Is not really there a lot. But funny. He locks his keys in his car, which is funny as well. Roy approaches Keeley. I think it starts jumping after the game. Like, there's a few scenes where it's like, a few days later, a few months later, a few whatever. Like, it kind of jumps in time. And one of those jumps in times is Roy going to Keeley. He's like, I want to go on a vacation before you start your new job, before the season starts up again. Like, let's just go and be together and have a holiday together. And Keeley says no. And he thinks she's breaking up with him. She says no. She's telling him to go on this holiday by himself, which 6 weeks is the plan for this holiday, which, first off, I can't remember a vacation that I've taken, let alone, I mean, in a long, long time, many, many, many years, let alone more than a week. I don't even know if I've taken a week vacation where you just don't do anything and just relax. Like, I'm constantly working on some level, and I can't allow myself to relax. One of my mental health problems, I'm sure. One issue is that I have an inability to relax. And the thought of going somewhere for 6 weeks, a month and a half, go hang out at a beach. I would love to do that. But, so for Keeley, she's not going to go because she's got this big new thing. She can't just take time off before she starts the thing. She's got to go ahead first. She's got to use this momentum. So she tells Roy that she's not breaking up with him, that he should go by himself, which, that just doesn't, like, going on a 6-week vacation by yourself while your girlfriend is back home working her ass off. Like I wouldn't be able, like even more so wouldn't be able to relax. I'd be like, well, I'll just wait until you're able to go, and then we'll go do something. Or like try and do small vacations that aren't a month and a half long. Either way, that whole situation made me nervous. Just like, even though it's like the most subtle kind of issues for a relationship to have, like it makes me nervous of where it's going to be in next season. Because I want them together. I think they work great together. I don't think she should go back with Jamie, despite the fact that he seems to have shown that he's changed. He's definitely shown that he's changed. The fact that he apologized to Roy right away, he let Dani kick the penalty kick. I mean, his actions show that he's changed. But I don't want Keeley to get, I like Keeley and Roy. But I like them. But it's like my hope for their relationship to succeed just keeps getting knocked down by like virtually very little. Like the most minor of things a relationship could be going through. But it still stresses me out. And then we see Rupert. Obviously, in this episode, we find out that Rupert purchased another team. That's why he gave up his shares to Rebecca so that he could purchase his own team, which Rebecca's happy about, that it wasn't him actually being a good person. Like, she doesn't have to adjust her thinking of who Rupert is. Like, Rupert, unlike Jamie, hasn't changed. Jamie's changed. Rupert is the same guy. Frames things that he does as being positives, but is all the while planning to destroy her. And similarly, you see this coach, hands in his pockets, watching these players train, like actually doing drills, not like trying to learn a Backstreet Boys song choreography. Like they're really training. And you see this coach, hands in his pockets, and then you see Rupert come up to him and whisper to him, just like Rupert whispered to Nate at the funeral. And of course, turns around and it's Nate. Perfect gray hair, not perfect gray hair, almost too perfect gray hair. But gray-haired Nate walking towards the camera while some badass music plays. And it's like, despite the fact that it's tragic for me to see Nate spiral into becoming a villain, it's like, it hurts my feeling. I like Nate. Like, I really like Nate. And it's so sad to see him grow into this villain that he has. But as far as villains go, as far as like a villain backstory, I mean, to see it like just unfold from the first episode, you see him, he's just a equipment manager running across the pitch to tell Ted and Coach Beard to get off until he realized that's the new coach. Like, he was just this meek little assistant guy, which will be funny if the current equipment, the guy who replaced Nate as equipment manager, if he also has like really great soccer knowledge and he gets promoted to coach. I don't see that happening. I mean, they got Roy. I'm sure they can find somebody else. Who knows in the next season. But I thought it was great. Ending. Nate's character arc, it works because it makes the story interesting, obviously. If Nate just was a great coach that dressed nice on the sidelines, that would have been boring. So obviously him becoming the villain is an interesting kind of a turn for it. And not really a turn, it's something that I'm sure a lot of people saw coming. Apparently, over the course of this season, they progressively made his hair more and more gray, which I don't feel. I only really noticed it in this episode, how gray it was. Like, it seemed like it jumped quite a bit. Like it feels like super gray, but also how it became gray feels like not how hair becomes gray. It feels like hair becomes, at least for me, it starts with like a few strands here and there. Maybe you get like a little patch of grayness, maybe a little patch in the beard. He didn't have facial hair, but you'd think you'd see like little patches and strands, but instead it's like it looks like it's a slight, I mean, makeup. What are you gonna do? And maybe some people gray differently. My experience of going gray since I turned 20, is like this. Wait, this little part right here, and then I have some gray. Anyway, it was a good season, right? They're back on top. Nate's gone, which is kind of fine because he was the new saboteur. He took the torch of sabotage from Rebecca in this first season and ran with it. Unsuccessfully. Ted got the opportunity to be open about it, which I think is probably the best thing to do. Sharon even gave him the advice is that, you need to own this, which is true. I mean, just like owning everything is the best. Like if you make a mistake, own it. If you have shortcomings, personal shortcomings, own it. Be like Eminem in the rap battle of 8 Mile. You got to expose all of your weaknesses before your enemy even gets the chance. Because if you're okay with those things, if you're okay with your shortcomings and your mistakes and your flaws, then people can't use that against you. And the only reason people could use it against you is if you pretend like you're perfect, which nobody is perfect. People that pretend are perfect are like so flawed inside. And that's the reason why they pretend. But anyway, that is it. I'm going to rewatch this entire second season. I'm going to binge it. Instead of, dissecting episode by episode, I'm going to rewatch it. And then next week, on the same day, on Tuesday, I'm going to do a season 2 recap review of Ted Lasso. And maybe announce what I'm going to start reviewing next. I don't know if I've decided. I might do Squid Game. I might do Dave. I might do Reservoir Dogs. Those are kind of the 3 options I'm looking at to go episode by episode. I think Squid Game would be a really fun episode by episode kind of breakdown. So that is a high percentage possibility that that's the next one. But next week, it will be my season 2 recap of Ted Lasso, season 2. So look forward to that. Believe. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!